Have you ever been so bored that you go on Google Earth or Maps and just fool around and see what your house looks like from above? Because I have. Well, over the years, a number of Google Earth users have noticed some pretty fishy things. Starting off this countdown, we have Snow Saddle. Snow Saddle is a major mountain peak of the Himalayas in Nepal. But if you try to view it from Google Earth, you'll see that the whole area is blacked out, which is obviously suspicious. Why is a mountain peak blurred? What's going on there that has Google blurring it? To this day, no one knows for sure. But of course, there are a number of theories. One theory is that the Nazis had secret expeditions to the Himalayas and found a UFO base in that area. Sounds crazy, right? Well, there have been a number of UFO sightings in that area, so maybe it is a top secret UFO base. Who knows? We don't know. Moving on to number 9, we have Baker Lake. Located in Nunavut, Canada, Google Earth is letting you see none of it. Get it? Like none of it? Sorry, I love my puns. So if you look it up on Google Maps, it's weird because you see just a black strip covering a large area near the lake. What's it blocking? Again, we don't know for sure, but we have some crazy conspiracies. One theory is that the strip is concealing extraterrestrial beacons that help the navigation of the crafts, or that it's a craft landing strip. I don't know. They also say that this area would be perfect for the beacons since snow creates a powerful electromagnetic field that helps send a better signal. What do you think though? Let me know in the comments below. In our 8th spot, we have the Pacific Northwest Blur. Here is a view of the area close to the Washington-Oregon border. And would you look at that? There's a random patch blacked out. To this day, no one knows what that is. But something is there that Google doesn't want us to see. In fact, some people believe that it is a HAARP site, or HAARP. HAARP is said to be a military program that weaponizes weather and causes natural disasters like floods, earthquakes, droughts, you get it. Now, some people have actually traveled to that area to see what's up, but unfortunately haven't been able to find anything. Kinda suspicious. Like, what does Google know that we don't know? A whole lot, that's what. In our 7th spot, we have 2207 Seymour Avenue. This is the address to a home located in Cleveland, Ohio. A home in which a horrific crime took place. A crime that people don't like to talk about. From 2002 to 2004, Adriel Castro kidnapped 3 young women, Michelle Knight, Amanda Berry, and Georgina De Jesus. He kept them captive in his home until 2013 when Amanda Berry escaped with her daughter and contacted the police. Police came to his house and rescued the other women. This house has since been blurred on Google Maps due to the horrific crimes that took place inside. In fact, it was given the name the House of Horrors. But in 2013, it was actually demolished to help the victims move on from their traumatizing past. In our 6th spot, we have Valencia City. Located in the Philippines, Valencia City is one of the largest and most populated cities in the province of Bukidnon. It's home to over 190,000 people. It's even a popular tourist spot. But if you want to find it on Google Earth, you can't. The whole city is just blurred out. This was apparently done under government orders. Valencia City is home to their government's headquarters. It's said to house a top secret missile defense program. Others say that they do missile testing there, but that hasn't been proven, so we really don't know. It's just weird that the whole city is blurred out, not just a single area. We're now at our 5th and halfway mark with the French nuclear facility. La Hague is a nuclear fuel reprocessing facility in France that opened in 1976. It is responsible for treating nuclear fuel from several countries. But here's the thing. Since 1997, Greenpeace has been trying to shut it down. They have been dumping 1 million liters of liquid radioactive waste per day into the ocean. That is extremely toxic for the environment. What's even more messed up is that the site wasn't always blurred out. But when people heard about the whole Greenpeace controversy, they had Google Earth blur out their location. This has led people to believe that they are still dumping this radioactive waste into the ocean. They just don't want people to see what they're doing. In our 4th spot, we have the prisons. Now, there are a number of prisons that are blurred out on Google Earth, including the Beaumet prison in France or the Almira Correctional Facility. Now, there's a number of reasons for this. The main one being so that criminals don't figure out the layout of these prisons. They are afraid that they will use this information to plan an escape. In fact, this actually happened a couple of times. Following a successful jailbreak at the Beaumet prison, France's Prime Minister of Justice was like, it's because they knew the layout of the building. So this resulted in the prison being blurred, along with a number of other prisons. In our third spot, we have the invisible jet. Just last year, a Google Earth user discovered something that sent the internet into a frenzy. The user claimed to have found an invisible US Air Force plane hiding in plain sight. Pun intended. Check it out. Crazy, isn't it? Now this was spotted at an Air Force base in Texas. Either this plane is invisible or semi-invisible because we can still see it, or Google Maps blurred it out to try and keep it a secret. Others say that it's just a glitch, or that it's Wonder Woman's plane, or that it's just a B-1 bomber with heat haze coming off of it. But I don't know, a lot of conspiracy theorists think otherwise. What do you think though? Let me know in the comments below. In our second spot, we have the giant sea monster. We really don't know what's going on in our ocean. Like over 80% of it remains unexplored, and with all the nuclear waste that's going in it, who knows what kind of beasts lurk out there? Well, one of them might have been caught on camera. This image is what appears to be a massive sea beast. We don't know for sure what exactly it is, but it was spotted off the coast of Antarctica's Deception Island. That's right, the island is called Deception Island. It's kind of eerie. Anyways, theories range from this thing being an underwater UFO to the Kraken, even the Loch Ness Monster, which, if it's Nessie, then what is it doing all the way over there? Anyways, I will say it looks an awful lot like a giant squid. Who's trying to make a trip over there and figure it out in person? Maybe we can catch this beast. I'm just kidding. No thank you. And in our number one spot today, we have the escaped killer. As you know from part 1 of this video series, Google Earth is a snitch. You gotta watch out because an escaped killer who was on the run for nearly 20 years was caught. All thanks to Google Earth. The man's name is Gioacchino Gamino. I'm sorry if I pronounced that wrong, but he is a convicted murderer, mafia member, and one of Italy's most wanted gangsters. He had been sentenced to life in prison for a murder he committed in 1998. In 2002, he managed to escape prison. He then went on to live in Spain under a fake alias. Now, let me explain how he got caught. So basically, someone tipped off authorities saying that he was living there and that he owned a restaurant. So they looked it up on Google Earth, and although his face was blurred, they saw him outside his restaurant. They ended up tracking him down, and he was arrested on December 17th of 2021, so fairly recently. Number 10. HAARP site. The High Frequency Active Auroral Research Program, aka HAARP, is a University of Alaska Fairbanks program which researches the ionosphere, the highest ionized part of Earth's atmosphere. It is currently among the most controversial operations being carried out in the US and forms the base for a number of conspiracy theories. Various individuals have speculated about hidden motivations and capabilities of the project. For example, Rosalie Bertell warned in 1996 about the deployment of HAARP as a military weapon. Michael Chasudovsky stated in a book published by the Committee on Monetary and Economic Reform that the recent scientific evidence suggests that HAARP is fully operational and has the capability of triggering floods, hurricanes, droughts, and earthquakes. Over time, HAARP has been blamed for generating such catastrophes as well as thunderstorms in Iran, Pakistan, Haiti, Turkey, Greece, and the Philippines, and even major power outages, the downing of TWA Flight 800, Gulf War Syndrome, and chronic fatigue syndrome. And the fact that this place is blurred out on Google Maps, I think they're guilty. Number 9. North Korea. Until February 2013, North Korea existed as a blurred blotch on Google Maps with just its capital city, Pyongyang, marked on it. Today, you can see it on the map, but you can't see it on Street View. Why can't we see anything? Well, this is due to their dictator Kim Jong-un's rule. It's been said that they have many secret missile bases and they have some nuclear facilities. There's also Kanjong-dong, better known as Propaganda Village. It's North Korea's end of the DMZ and has a grand total of 200 people living in it. Well, that's if you believe the North Korean government. In reality, there are absolutely no residents,
Zero. It's completely empty. The village was designed to show off the virtues of North Korean lifestyle to South Korean villages in view and lead to defection. You can see it from South Korea, but not on Google Maps. And one of the biggest atrocities in North Korea are their prison camps. A former guard likened the prisoners to walking skeletons, dwarfs, and cripples in rags. He estimated about 30% of prisoners had deformities such as torn off ears, smashed eyes, crooked noses, and faces covered with cuts and scars, resulting from beatings and other mistreatment, and that these people were still forced to work. They had to do hard physical labor in agriculture, mining, and inside factories from 5 AM to 8 PM, followed by ideological re-education and self-criticism sessions. The prisoners are forced to sleep in a room with 80 to 90 people in 30 square meter flea-infested rooms, are only occasionally allowed to use the toilet, one for about every 300 people, and may only take a shower after several months. No wonder Kim doesn't want us to see any of this, because they're major crimes against humanity. Number 8. Babylon. Once on the list of the 7 wonders of the ancient world, a predominant part of the Holy Bible, Babylon, Iraq now appears on Google Maps as an unending farmland. The vast history behind the city makes it stand out as one of the greatest cities in Iraq, and many find it to be disrespectful that Google Maps would blur out such a city. Many people speculate that is the history itself that is the reason why parts of Babylon are censored. Not all of the history has been uncovered from this ancient city, and the censorship could deter people from exploring the area and finding things for themselves, but I feel like this would make me want to explore it more. Number 7. Israel. When you first start looking at Israel in satellite view, everything looks fine, but zoom in and you'll notice that things get blurry quickly. In fact, all of Israel is shown in low resolution by all US-based mapping services due to the Kyla Bingaman Amendment to the National Defense Authorization Act of 1997, entitled Prohibition on Collection and Release of Detailed Satellite Imagery Relating to Israel. The amendment requires the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, NOAA, Commercial Remote Sensing Regulatory Affairs Agency, to regulate the distribution of zoomed images of Israel. While the review of the Kyla-Bingaman Amendment is said to be taking place, many images of Israel remain blurry. Number 6. Washington-Oregon border. If you hover over the Washington and Oregon border in the northwestern part of the US, you may find a small black box along the border. This seems like a strange place to censor, and as soon as this came out, people began speculating. One of the most popular reasons to be rumored was the involvement of the FEMA, Federal Emergency Management Agency, and was thought to be a base of theirs. However, people have traveled to the area in real life and found nothing but the empty terrain in the area. So, why is it blocked out? No one really knows.
We are now at our 5th and halfway mark with Amchitka Island. Located in Alaska, sections of this island are blurred out and no one really knows why this is. But it may have to do with the nuclear testing that once took place there. From the 1950s to the 1970s, this island was the site of US underground nuclear testing. Nowadays, they are running tests to see if the island has any radioactive leakage there. If there isn't, then in 2025 it could become a wildlife reserve. But again, why is half of the island blurred out? Maybe that's the section where the nuclear testing took place. But why is it still blurred? A lot of people think that the military is doing some suspicious illegal activities there. We just don't know what. Moving on, at number 4 we have Vokel Air Base. Located in the Netherlands, we have the Vokel Air Base, which is a military air base used by the Royal Netherlands Air Force. According to former Dutch Prime Minister, there are 22 US nuclear bombs being stored in bunkers of this airspace, which is one of the many reasons as to why it appears pixelated on Google Earth. You got thermonuclear bombs, all the way to bombs that are said to be 4 times powerful as the ones used on the bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Now, for the longest time, the place was just rumored to have nukes. It wasn't known for sure. That was until 2013 when the Prime Minister let it slip. He said, and I quote, "I would never have thought those silly things would still be there in 2013. I think they are an absolutely pointless part of a tradition in military thinking." In our 3rd spot, we have the mysterious Russian site. Located in the Siberian tundra close to the city of Egvikinot. I know I said that wrong. I literally looked up the pronunciation, but there is nothing out there, so I apologize. Egvigno, I'm so sorry. Anyways, the area is blurred out on Google Earth and no one knows why. been saying that a lot this video, but it's true, no one knows why. But it didn't always appear like this. At one point they had edited the satellite imagery. They cut out a section around Egvinot, that place I don't know how to say, and pasted it over whatever they wanted to blur. They thought it would make it less obvious. But apparently on Russian maps they had the area blurred with a black box. So what's going on in that area? Some say it's HAARP again, others say there's a large gold deposit in that area, so they don't want people finding that out. Others say it's a ballistic missile testing site. Coming in at number 2, we have the murder scene. Google Earth is a snitch, y'all, okay? A couple of years ago, they caught a murder on camera. It shows a dark figure standing by a body laying down on the ground by some abandoned train tracks. That's all we know. Obviously, due to it being disturbing in nature, they don't want people seeing it. And in our number 1 spot today, we have the poor donkey. Now, this has to be one of the funniest, yet saddest things caught on Google Earth/Maps. So you know how they have that van with the camera that drives along and it just snaps photos like every second in every direction? Well, while going along, it captured a donkey at the side of the road. Seconds later, if you click down the road and you turn back, the donkey's still there, just now laying on the floor. It had been hit by the Google Earth truck. It's pretty sad. Rest in peace, donkey. But that doesn't look too good on the company if they're going around and hitting and killing animals. Just saying. Starting off this countdown, we have Costa Concordia. On January 13th of 2012, the Italian cruise ship Costa Concordia sadly crashed into underwater rocks. This resulted in the ship capsizing and sinking. Sadly, 32 passengers lost their lives in this tragedy. And Google Earth caught it on camera. It has photos of the ship laying on its side, which is a dark reminder of this tragedy. The captain of the ship ended up being charged with multiple counts of manslaughter. He was sentenced to 16 years in prison as people argued that he delayed the evacuation of the ship, and then he fled the ship and left the crew and passengers to fend for themselves. In our 9th spot, we have the disappearance. On November 7th of 1997, 40-year-old William Moult was reported missing after going out one night and never returning home. Sadly, the police had no leads as to where William could be or what happened to him. The case went cold for 20 years. That's when Google Earth found William. Basically, a housing development manager was using Google Earth to check out some properties when he saw something strange in a pond near the homes. Turns out this weird thing was William's car. The police ended up dragging the pond and retrieved his car. William's body was found in there as well. The only mystery that remains is how William ended up driving into the pond in the first place. In our 8th spot, we have the secret bunker. Hidden in the New Mexico desert is a secret bunker surrounded by strange symbols. These symbols were thought to be done by the works of aliens. Anyways, the bunker is located close to these symbols, and it's said to be the alien space cathedral of the Church of Scientology. Former Scientologist Ron Hubbard says that the symbols mark a return point for reincarnation. The bunker even has its own private airstrip for the church's leaders. In 2005, it was confirmed that this bunker does indeed exist. This bunker is said to be the place where members can travel to in the future from other places in the universe. Moving on to number 7, we have the Blood Red Lake. Just outside of Sadr City in Iraq, there is a lake that is completely red. Hence why it was given the name Blood Red Lake. The reason as to why it's red remains a mystery, but of course we have some theories. One is that pollution or sewage caused it to turn red. Another is that it's a result of the water treatment process. Whereas others believe that the lake is red from blood running into it from a slaughterhouse. To this day, no one has offered an official explanation as to why this river looks like blood. In our 6th spot today, we have the oil refinery. The Hungarian oil refinery Százhalombatta is so private that they wanted Google Earth to block them out. But instead of blurring it or barring it with a black box, they asked Google to have it colored green, and no one knows why. Now it just looks like a weird football field. A lot of people are wondering what they're trying to protect or hide from us. Hopefully they aren't trying to hide some illegal or shady activity that they're into.
At number number 5, we have 44 degrees south, 71 degrees west, Mount Washington, USA. Alright, we did a couple places in the excruciating heat, and now it's time to head into the bitter cold. Mount Washington is freezing, and it has temperatures that can reach 40 below. Fun fact about 40 below, that's where the two scales of Celsius and Fahrenheit meet. You can share that with your friends next time you're freezing to death in the -40 weather. I'm sure they'll love that little tidbit of information while their nose peels off. And if the brutal cold wasn't enough to make you want to avoid this place, it also has the fastest winds ever recorded on a mountain. 238 miles per hour. That's over 300 kilometers per hour. That's stronger than a Category 5 hurricane. The wind is so strong it will give your face freezer burn right before it rips it off and sends it hurling down the mountain. At number 4 on the list, we have 24 degrees south, 46 degrees west, Snake Island, Brazil. I didn't make this place up. I know it sounds like something pulled out of a cheesy low-budget 80s action movie, but it's real, and it has enough snakes living there to make the cast of The Real Housewives for decades. There is one snake for every square foot. I don't have a fear of snakes, but there's still no way I'm going to get close to this place, especially since almost every species on the island is extremely venomous. There's even rumors that snakes will swim off the island to boats that are too close and kill the people on board and then eat them. I even heard there's a symbiotic relationship with the birds on the island and the snakes on the island, where the birds will pick up the snakes and then drop them on people who are on the island so they get like an air attack and kill them. That one I made up. I just kind of wanted to hype up the story a little bit more. But your real biggest worry is about getting bitten and then having to ride in a boat back to the mainland to go see a doctor. It's a 90-kilometer trip, so you would probably be dead before you got anywhere close to any sort of medical attention. At number 3, we have 3 degrees north, 98 degrees east, Sinabung Volcano, Indonesia. I mean, who wouldn't want to live right next to an active volcano? It seems like a swell place to raise a family. But you guys are probably wondering, well, you can live next to an active volcano, but that doesn't mean it's gonna blow up all the time. Well, between the years 2010 and 2016, Sinabung has popped off 5 times in 6 years. That is crazy. This place has blown up more times in 6 years than Conor McGregor has fought. And he is a professional fighter. Huh. I hope he doesn't find me and kick my ass. I don't know, that could happen. I'm sure it's a beautiful place, but it would be hard to tell with all the constant lava flowing through it. This volcano is part of the Ring of Fire, which is a string of volcanoes lining up with tectonic plates that erupt more often than usual. So I'm not eager to check this place out, but you guys can go for me. At number 2, we have 25 degrees north, 70 degrees west, the Bermuda Triangle. Any kid growing up in the 90s heard about the Bermuda Triangle again and again. It was a plot point in every show from Scooby-Doo to Jackie Chan's Adventures. Yo, remember Jackie Chan had a cartoon and it was absolute fire? That cartoon was so good. Anyways, the Bermuda Triangle is a large chunk of the Atlantic situated between Florida, Bermuda, and Puerto Rico, and has been a hotspot for people disappearing. Planes, boats, rescue missions all have vanished without a trace, and it leaves people baffled as to what is going on. Some people think it's a hotspot for storms to kick up, other people say there's magnetic forces that destroy navigation equipment. The crazier theories suggest that the Bermuda Triangle is a gateway for interdimensional travel, that aliens use this to fly across the universe in an instant. Even though there's a lot of disappearances from this area, many of them have been explained, but there's still a ton of cases that leave people wondering what's going on in this mysterious chunk of ocean. Ugh. I don't know why I did that tongue thing at the end. And number 1 on our list is 40 degrees north, 58 degrees east, the Darvaza gas crater, Turkmenistan. Right off the bat, this place is nicknamed the Door to Hell. It has an even creepier nickname than that other hell place. Not the place you want to spend your honeymoon, unless you're both super metal, then it's probably like a great choice. Turkmenistan has a massive natural gas reserve, and that has been the fuel to the door to hell. It was back in 1971 when Turkmenistan was still part of the Soviet Union. There was construction underway, and a drilling operation caused a large amount of the earth to collapse in. And what started flowing out of it? A toxic gas. If it wasn't dealt with quickly, it would have poisoned the entire area. Good news though, the gas was flammable, so the Soviets figured, we'll just light it on fire, it'll burn for a little while, and then we'll get back to work, comrade. Well, it did catch on fire, and then it did burn, but it never stopped. It has been burning since 1971, and has no sign of going out anytime soon. And if a giant pit of fire wasn't enough to keep you away, Turkmenistan is run by a dictator. Have a nice vacation.
Starting us off at number 10, we have Jeanette Island. Located somewhere in the East Siberian Sea, this mysterious tiny island measures just 1.2 miles in length, and according to the powers that be, we are not supposed to know about it. From what we can tell, well, it's mainly covered in ice, so it's highly unlikely that there's any kind of civilization there. So the million-dollar question is, what are they hiding? Apparently there have been some issues about who the island legally belongs to, with disputes between the US and Russia over the years, which has led some to believe it could be some kind of top secret military base or something. But whatever it is, it's blurred out on Google Maps and no one is allowed to visit. Next up at number 9, Patio de los Naranjos. Located in the gorgeous coastal city of Almeria in Spain, something about this place doesn't add up, and it's being kept a secret from the world. What's strange about this location in particular is that Patio de los Naranjos translates to Orange Tree Courtyard, which, if that were true, why on earth would we not be able to visit it? So it begs the question, what lies beneath that blurred out square on Google Maps, and what could be so dangerous about it that we aren't even allowed to see it virtually, let alone in person? Maybe it's a government building, or maybe it's a top secret military base, but whatever it is, they are not keen on anyone knowing what is going on, which to me seems very suspicious. Coming in at number 8, Amchitka Island. Once home to the Aleut people for over 2,500 years, Amchitka Island has had no permanent population since 1832. In 1836, when the United States purchased Alaska, they gained control of the territory, and it's likely this purchase had something to do with the declining population. But that's not all. During the 50s, 60s, and 70s, it became the largest underground nuclear testing site and was controversial even then, in fear that the test could cause severe environmental impacts and desolate the land. Currently it's under observation for radioactive leakage, and so it has been blurred out from Google Maps to keep visitors far, far away. Coming in at number 7, a Russian warehouse. Deep in an unnamed forest in Russia lies a strange building that no one is permitted to see. Already it sounds like the start of a spy movie. From ground level, it's likely all you would see is the double high fencing that surrounds the mysterious warehouses, but from a bird's eye view, you can see it all. But just because we can see it on Google does not mean they want us to know what's in there. I mean, generally when you put a giant strange building in the middle of nowhere surrounded by a huge fence, you are trying to keep something a secret. Although no one knows exactly what this strange mile-long warehouse is, many suspect it to be some kind of military storage facility, possibly even storing explosives. So if that is the case, it would make sense why they put it in the middle of nowhere and why no one is permitted to visit. Coming in at number 6, underwater pyramids. Located in the Bahamas, this photo found in Google Maps has left many thinking that they discovered underwater pyramids. Now, I know, this is a full conspiracy theory, but I mean I had to add it because it's too entertaining to leave out. Some believe it's proof of Atlantis or aliens themselves, while others have deduced it could have been built by an ancient civilization. The mysterious structure is estimated to measure between 3.5 to 11 miles across based on the photos, although no one knows for sure as you can't get to the structure to see for yourself. If it is in fact what many believe it to be, it would be bigger than any pyramid ever built. But seeing as though no one can visit them, it might be a long while before we know if these pyramids prove any kind of extraterrestrial involvement on Earth.
At number 10, we have Mogadishu, Somalia. Alright, we're gonna kick off this list with a place that has all the key points in a place you do not want to visit. Do they have kidnappings? Oh, you better believe it! Tourists who make the mistake of traveling alone can often get a burlap sack put right over their head and be on a one-way ticket to Ransom Town. If you are an American, there is an increased chance of you getting scooped up, so keep an eye out. Actually, it is recommended that you travel with a bodyguard. Okay, so they have that, but do they also have gangs? Yes sir, they do! Gang violence is a regular thing and civilians are killed all the time. And the cherry on top is there also is a very unstable government with a military constantly walking through the streets. Not to mention the people are suffering. So unless you're traveling with military protection and you have the need to stabilize an unstable country, maybe choose Cancun for your next vacation. At number 9, we have the Siatram River in Indonesia. In places all over the world, resources are so tight that people are forced to exploit their environment. The Siatram River is a living representation of this. It's located in Indonesia and there's very little infrastructure around there for these people to live a clean and healthy life. life, so they resort to taking what they can from the land. This river is extremely polluted because the 5 million people who live there have to use it to bathe, water crops, dispose of waste, dispose of garbage, and drink. The river has been so polluted that any wildlife that used to call this place home has either left or died. It is terrible to see a place where people are forced to live without clean drinking water. At number 8 we have the Queen's Bath, Hawaii. There are beautiful beaches, parties everywhere, and enough drunk tourists to make a conga line all the way to the American mainland. But it's the wonderful attractions that can lure people into a false sense of security. On the island of Kauai, there is an absolutely breathtaking formation called the Queen's Bath. It is a natural pool formed right into the rock bed of the island. It kind of looks like a place royalty would come to dip their feet in while they drink champagne and laugh about stealing the world's resources. But this place is similar to a Venus flytrap. Gorgeous to look at, but when you get too close it can be dangerous. People will often go swimming in the Queen's Bath, and then a very strong wave will come through and either bash them against the rocks or wash them out to sea. There are tons of warning signs trying to tell tourists that they should not go swimming in this pool, but every year tourists either drown or need to be rescued. At number 7 we have Syria. Syria has been in constant turmoil for many years. First there was constant civil war, the rebel soldiers battling the government every single day in an attempt to liberate Syria from the oppressive government. This meant that warfare was commonplace in the streets, and then ISIS took over a major chunk of Syria, which obviously meant that the violence only escalated. Then the American troops had to come in and try and push out ISIS, which meant even more war. It seems like the struggles in Syria will never end. Can everyone there just like call a timeout? Like everyone just stop fighting for 2 minutes and then just be friends and see what happens. I think that is the worst advice I have ever given anyone. Yeah, Che, you can stop war by everyone just being friends. And that's why I'm making top 10 lists and I'm not in politics. At number 6 we have Oymyakon, Russia. Here's something about me. I love warm weather. If it's 40 plus Celsius and I'm sweating at home just from putting on my pants, I've never been happier. So this place would be hell on earth for me. Oymyakon is the coldest inhabited place in the world. 500 people live there year round for some unknown reason. They must like it when it gets so cold that your eyeballs freeze inside your head, which is a real thing that can happen. The temperature can drop to negative 62 degrees Celsius. That's minus 80 Fahrenheit. It would be so cold I would want to cry out, but my tear ducts would be frozen, so all I would be able to do is scream and pray for death. One of the weirdest things about this place is it's actually a tourist attraction. People will choose to go to the coldest village on the earth rather than eating pizza in Italy. If you're that kind of person, don't talk to me. I don't need your weird vibes getting on me. I'm vibing all the time. I don't want your bad cold vibes in my life, okay? One of the main tourist attractions at this place is a giant thermometer that will remind you how much fun you're having by showing you the lip slicing temperatures. And one time it got so cold in this village that the thermometer broke. What the hell?
Starting off this countdown we have Amchitka Island. Located in Alaska, sections of this island are blurred out on Google Maps and no one really knows why this is. But it may have to do with the nuclear testing that once took place there. From the 1950s to the 1970s, Amchitka Island was the site of US underground nuclear testing. Nowadays they are running tests to see if the island has any radioactive leakage there. If there isn't, then in 2025 it could become a wildlife reserve. But again, why is half of the island blurred out? Maybe that's the section where the nuclear testing took place. But why is it still blurred? A lot of people think that the military is doing some suspicious illegal activities there and that's why. But what do you think? Let me know in the comments below. In our 9th spot we have 2207 Seymour Avenue. And if you guys are liking this video so far, then make sure to give it a big thumbs up. 2207 Seymour Avenue, located in Cleveland, Ohio, is a home where a horrific crime took place. From 2002 to 2004, Ariel Castro kidnapped 3 young women. Michelle Knight, Amanda Berry, and Georgina De Jesus. He kept them captive in his home until 2013 when Amanda Berry escaped with her daughter and contacted the police. The police came to his house and rescued the other women. Castro was arrested within hours. He was sentenced to life plus 1,000 years in prison without parole. Due to the disturbing crimes that took place at his home, Google Maps decided to blur his house. In fact, the house has been named the House of Horrors. But a couple years back, his house was demolished to help the victims move on from their traumatizing past. Coming in at number 8 we have the French nuclear facility. The Arriva-La Hague nuclear fuel reprocessing facility in France is another place that is blurred out on Google Maps. This facility opened in 1976 and is responsible for treating nuclear fuel from several countries. Here's the thing though, this facility hasn't always been blurred out. By using the Google Earth History tab, you can see old Google Earth images of this facility. So now, why all of a sudden is it blurred out? What is going on there? Well, it may have something to do with the controversy it has received and the backlash it received from Greenpeace. Since 1997, Greenpeace has been trying to shut it down, saying that they dump 1 million liters of liquid radioactive waste per day in the ocean. That is severely messed up if that's true. Maybe that's why it's blurred out, so that people don't see what they're really up to with their nuclear waste. Moving on to number 7, we have the French prison. There are a number of prisons that are blurred out on Google Earth, including the Beaumet prison in Marseille. Now, why do they blur out images of prisons? Well, a couple of reasons. One, for privacy. But the main reason is so that the criminals don't know the layout of the prison. Basically, this prison wasn't always blurred. Following a successful jailbreak, France's Minister of Justice was like, why are there aerial images of this prison available online? And then that led to the prison getting blurred. But of course, you can still find older images of the prison on Google Maps that show what it looks like and its layout. In our 6th spot, we have the Antarctic ice shield. This is another pretty strange place to get blurred. But basically, halfway between Australia and Madagascar, there is a 22-kilometer long blur in the middle of the Antarctic ice shield. I mean, this place is one of the most isolated places on Earth. There's nothing but ice and penguins there. So why is it being blurred out? We don't know for sure, but people think that there is something hidden there that we're not allowed to see. Although it's thought to be owned by Australia, theory goes that Russia or the US have built a research facility there. The only way we'll know for sure is by visiting the place itself. So who's coming with me for this field trip? It'll be a lot of fun. Come on, just pack a snowsuit and lots of hot packs.
Number 5. Elmira Correctional Facility. Okay, Google isn't trying to hide this place, but the warden is. Elmira Correctional Facility in New York is blurred because the warden of the prison put in a request for censorship with Google to censor the prison so prisoners wouldn't be able to map out escape plans. After several escapes, the warden decided that it may be the fact that prisoners are escaping by using Google Maps as a reference. So to put a stop to it, he got it blurred. Now, there are better ways to prevent breakouts like enhancing security, but who knows, maybe blurring out the prison on Google Earth has effectively stopped prison escapes since then. Doubt it though. Number 4. Marcoule Nuclear Site. The Marcoule Nuclear Site located in France has been blurred off the maps. Operational since 1956, Marcoule is a gigantic site run by the Atomic Energy Organization, Commissariat à l'Énergie Atomique, CEA, and Arriva NC. The first industrial and military plutonium experiments took place in Marcoule. Diversification of the site was started in the 1970s with the creation of the Phoenix prototype fast breeder reactor, which was operational until 2009 and is nowadays an important site for decommissioning nuclear facilities activities. Since 1995, the factory has been producing MOX from a mix of uranium and plutonium oxides. MOX is used to recycle plutonium from nuclear fuel. Unfortunately, on September 12, 2011, there was an explosion in an oven used to melt metallic waste of a weak and very weak level of radioactivity, ending the life of 1 person and injuring 4. A safety cordon was set up around the plant by fire officers because of a risk of a leakage, and because of this, it really isn't a shock that it's off the map. Number 3. House of Gazprom CEO Alexei Miller. The House of Gazprom CEO Alexei Miller in Russia is blurred. I wonder why. Well, Gazprom is a Russian majority state-owned multinational energy corporation headquartered in St. Petersburg. As of 2019, with sales over $120 billion, it was ranked as the largest publicly listed natural gas company in the world and the largest company in Russia by revenue. Repeatedly, Gazprom has been accused of being a political and economical weapon of Russia, using the supply and price of natural gas to gain control over Europe. On April 22, 2015, Gazprom was charged by the European Commission with using territorial restrictions to engage in anti-competitive behavior and using its dominant position to impose unfair prices. The company was accused of preventing competition in Bulgaria, the Czech Republic, Hungary, Latvia, Lithuania, Poland, and Slovakia. In June 2021, a massive methane plume over Russia resulted from the partial shutdown of a Gazprom PJSC pipeline for emergency repair. The company said the repairs, which took place on June 4th, released 2.7 million cubic meters, aka 1,830 metric tons of methane. And that's just a couple of their controversies. With environmentalists mad at Gazprom, it's no shock that the CEO wants his house location essentially wiped from the internet. Number 2. Valkuil Air Base. It's believed that since the early 1960s, USAF nuclear weapons have been stored at the Valkuil Air Base in the Netherlands to be used by the host nation's aircraft. As of 2008, 22 B-61 nuclear bombs were believed to be in storage at Valkuil. Despite the evidence for this, the Dutch Ministry of Defense never officially acknowledges or denies the presence of nuclear weapons at Valkuil. In a book published by former Air Force pilot Steve Netto, it was revealed that some 50 B-28 nuclear bombs were in storage there around the time of the Cuban Missile Crisis, which, if needed, were to be deployed by aircraft of the Royal Netherlands Air Force. In a document leaked as part of the United States diplomat cables leak, the presence of nuclear weapons in the Netherlands is confirmed, though no specific location is given. On June 10, 2013, former Prime Minister Rudd Lubbers confirmed the existence of 22 nuclear weapons at the airfield. In a 2016 NATO draft report, Valkuil was mentioned as one of 6 locations where altogether, approximately 150 American B-61 bombs are stored. And according to a May 2021 article from Bellingcat, many sensitive security details about the nuclear arsenal at Valkuil, such as which vaults currently had nuclear weapons in them, were inadvertently exposed when journalists discovered that the soldiers tasked with overseeing these weapons had been using publicly available flashcard websites to assist them in learning these details. And coming up at number 1 is the Snow Saddle. Kantega, better known as the Snow Saddle, is an area located in the Nepal Himalaya. A section of this mountain is blackened out by satellites. At first, many thought this area might just be a glitch in the satellite cameras. However, if you reference another satellite site in Bing search engine, the spot is pixelated out. There have been many sightings of UFOs in the area, leading many to believe that the blackened area is a base of operations for a secret government project dealing with the extraterrestrial. The alleged secret UFO base was discovered by YouTube alien and UFO hunter Mexico Geek, who uploaded the evidence to YouTube on January 28, 2016. The images have sparked lively discussion and debates on UFO forums. These areas are known in the UFO community to be UFO hotspots. Alien and UFO spotters have reported strange and suspicious phenomena in this area in the past. Reported sightings in the remote and inaccessible area include massive flying saucers and orb UFOs emerging from underground locations. The area is notorious for the strange and eerie and mysterious activity, and it's believed that it's either a UFO base in the area or a top secret military facility for alien UFO reverse engineering research projects, and that's the reason why it's blurred.
At number 10, we have 36 degrees north, 117 degrees west, Death Valley, USA. One of the worst spots in America to get lost on a hiking trip. Now, thanks to air-conditioned cars and cell phones, most people won't meet their end in this wasteland, but back when pioneers had to cross this desert, it was one of the most challenging tasks imaginable. If you were caught out there without supplies, you would last less than a day. Either dehydration, sunstroke, or one of the many predators living out there would make you meet your end faster than a pizza pocket when I'm drunk. Death Valley has the highest recorded temperature on the planet, clocking in at 57 degrees Celsius. The whole joke about being hot enough to fry an egg on the sidewalk is real there, except it won't be an egg. It will be your intestines as a vulture rips them out of your stomach. And if you manage to make it through the day into the night, the temperature will plummet. In the winter, it can get as cold as -10 Celsius. As beautiful as the desert can be, I don't think I would want this to be my next vacation spot. If you're ever traveling through there, make sure you bring a ton of water and some blankets just in case your car breaks down. That would suck. At number 9, we have 25 degrees south, 153 degrees east, Fraser's Island, Australia. Australia is a beautiful place. It's like hot Canada with more fighting and beer. Honestly, I've never been there. I'm just basing it off of movies and TV. I'm really stereotyping you guys. I'm very sorry. But globally, Australia is known for housing some of the most dangerous creatures on the planet, and Fraser's Island is considered the most dangerous place in Australia. It's basically a funnel for several different dangerous species. To start it off, there are 2 types of jellyfish which are common to Fraser's Island. Irukandji and bluebottles. Both of those jellyfish have stings so severe that they will send you to the hospital. And if the waters weren't dangerous enough, this is also a hotspot for young great white sharks. I'm assuming they go to these beaches for biting practices. They want to get their reflexes nice and sharp before they chase down some surfers. So you might be saying to yourself, well, I'll just stay out of the water and I'll go explore the island. Well, there are packs of wild dingoes running around waiting to turn your tibia into a chew toy. Oh, and if you get attacked by any of these wild animals, there is zero medical services on the island. So you better hope you don't bleed out fast while the helicopter is zooming you to save your life. At number 8 we have 12 degrees north, 57 degrees east, Danakil Desert, Ethiopia. We're jumping back into the heat, and with winter just around the corner, this place makes me kind of jealous. I know that temperatures in deserts are high enough to kill someone, but I think it might be nicer than having to wait for a bus in the snow. Anyways, the Danakil Desert, also known as the Danakil Depression, is one of the hottest places on the planet, and because of its extreme heat, it's home to natural wonders. First, there is a decent amount of volcanic activity. This might be one of the only places on Earth where you walk into the desert to cool off. There's also mysterious salt pools. These are one of the largest tourist attractions in the area. Salt deposits build up on the sides of these pools, and the water is packed with sulfur. The salt has the aesthetic of a rimmed glass straight from nature's cocktail lounge. However, don't drink from one of these pools unless you want a slow, painful death. And I think we can agree we're all looking for swift and numb when it comes to dying. The pools are extremely poisonous. Even the air just above the pools is so packed with carbon dioxide that when small animals get too close, they will suffocate and die. And here's the cherry on top of the sundae, this place is nicknamed the Gateway to Hell. Wow. Beautiful. At number 7 we have 37 degrees north, 59 degrees east, Fukushima, Japan. For anyone who is unaware why Fukushima is a place you do not want to visit, it is home to the second largest nuclear disaster ever. In 2011, a major earthquake hit Fukushima, damaging a power plant, causing the city to evacuate. Since then, no one has been allowed to return, and the situation has improved, but it is not looking great. In order to keep the core cool of this power plant that melted down, they are constantly pouring water on top of them. This water is then contaminated with radiation, obviously, and they must contain it so it doesn't spread. But they are running out of places to put this contaminated water. Also, the city is now overgrown with vegetation. With the absence of people, the forests have started to reclaim what was rightfully theirs. And with it has brought a little bit of wildlife. I talked about this in a previous video, but I wanted to mention again because this is actually crazy. Radioactive wild boars have come into Fukushima and are thriving. For whatever reason, they do not seem to be afraid of radiation, and they are staking their claim on the land. This is how monster movies start. Next thing you know, we're gonna have giant mutant pigs swimming across the Pacific Ocean, coming here to eat the West. At number 6 we have 2 degrees south, 36 degrees east, Lake Natron, Tanzania. From a distance, this lake seems like a bronze wonder. The color and stillness looks like something pulled right out of a travel magazine. But this is the last lake you would want to take a swim in. There is only 3 things that have managed to live in this lake. One species of fish, one type of flamingo, and some algae. Everything else that touches this water dies extremely fast. Why is that? Well, the pH in the lake can sit around 9 and sometimes stretch up to 10.5. The animals that call this place home have adapted to the harsh conditions. But let's say a bird unfamiliar with the area decides to take a dip. Their eyes and skin will be burned from the high pH levels, and the ending result will look like they've been hit with Medusa's gaze.
Coming in at number 5, Sandy Island. Also known as the Phantom Island, this peculiar location was first discovered by the famous British explorer Captain James Cook in 1774. Now, what's crazy about Sandy Island is that it was documented on maps, globes, and even nautical charts for 238 years. But now if you go to Google Maps, you will see no such island. The reason being that in 1979, it was quite literally undiscovered, as no landmass existed there, but even so it remained on Google Maps until 2012. This seemingly conflicting information made many wonder if there was something that we weren't being told about this strange island, or non-island, and some conspiracy theorists even believe that it is truly there and that we are being lied to. I mean, it isn't every day that something is undiscovered, so it does make sense to wonder if there is something going on behind the scenes, but I guess we will never know for sure. Coming in at number 4, Areno La Hague. Fully pixelated out on Google Maps, this recycling plant has a very strict no visitors policy, which is likely why you are not able to see the entirety of the complex. You might be asking, a recycling plant, what's so bad about that I'm not allowed to visit? Well, it's not just any old recycling place for beer bottles and juice boxes. The Areno La Hague is a recycling plant for nuclear fuel. So as you can imagine, it is an extremely hazardous place littered with nuclear waste, and so for those very obvious reasons, Google Maps keeps it blurred out to keep visitors from trying to figure out how to get there. Coming in at number 3, the GROM headquarters. If you have ever Googled Warsaw in Poland, you may or may not have come across a strange group of buildings that look like mysterious blobs compared to the rest of the city around it. Well, as it turns out, this is no accident. Those buildings are GROM, or GROM, I'm not totally sure, headquarters, which is essentially Poland's Special Forces building. All I can find out about this top secret group is that they rescued CIA agents from a mission gone wrong in Desert Storm back in 1991. And whatever else they're up to, they do not want you to know about. Which, I mean, I guess is kind of the point. So as much as I am sure many of us would like to know what goes on in this super secret Polish spy headquarters, I'm afraid that information is highly classified, and their exact location will continue to remain a secret from the public. Coming in at number 2, a massive pentagram. Somewhere in the outskirts of Kazakhstan lies a dark symbol that has literally been carved into the earth. Although you might not be able to fully see the entire symbol at ground level, from above, the stark pentagram is clear as day. Conspiracy theorists have linked the cliffside pentagram to the Freemasons and Wiccans, stating that it is a site of animal sacrifice and satanic ritual, although this has never actually been confirmed. Still, the exact location of the pentagram is difficult to track down, and though not necessarily illegal to visit, I would definitely stay far away from anywhere rumored to be the site of a satanic ritual. And last up, in our number 1 spot today, we have a UFO crash site. Whether you tend to believe in aliens or not, this one is pretty freaking wild. From what you can see on Google Maps, it appears that a flying saucer crashed in the plains of South Africa. Around the UFO is a well-worn dirt path, which has led some to believe that aliens themselves could be hiding out there, as no one has visited the site since it was discovered, and how else would a dirt path have been formed if not by someone or something walking around the area? The top appears to be metallic from the area shot, which is unlike any rooftops on other buildings in the area, and many conspiracy theorists are convinced it's a UFO. No one has seen the site to know for sure, or at least no one has returned to tell the tale.
Next up is Bela Kiss. This was a Hungarian serial slayer who lived in the beginning of the 20th century. In 1903, Bela began plotting his horrific crimes. He would place personal ads in newspapers claiming to be a lonely widower looking for marriage under the alias Hoffman. He would use this method to correspond with women and manage to convince some of them to give him their money and assets. Then he would lure them to his house so he could strangle them to death with rope or even his bare hands. Now, not only was that disturbing, but Bela sought to preserve the bodies of his victims. Specifically, he would pickle his victims' bodies in large steel drums filled with wood alcohol, methanol. He'd also drain the blood from the necks of his victims, earning him the nickname the Vampire of Sincata. He ended the lives of approximately 24 women. Tamerlane the Great. So this 14th century conqueror of Western, Central, and South Asia was known as Timur, and he considered himself to be a descendant of Genghis Khan. He took a lot of pride in it, which kind of tells you a lot about him. He was one of the most horrifying rulers in history, his rule being followed by cruelty and terror, which was responsible for destroying millions of people. He had various ways he would end people's lives, like forcing people to jump from cliffs and climbing mountains, or getting up close and personal and just lobbing off their heads. He was also the one to order thousands of people to die of slow suffocation. He also enjoyed making towers out of human skulls. An estimated 15 to 20 million people died thanks to this lovely man. I'd also like to make a tower out of human skulls, just as long as I didn't, I wasn't responsible for their deaths. If I just found a bunch of skulls, I'd make a tower out of it, sure. In 1969, Donald Henry Gaskins began ending the lives of a series of hitchhikers he picked up while driving around the coastal highways of the American South. He would then torment and mutilate his victims. He claimed to have ended the lives of 80 to 90 people, and he was arrested in 1975. When a criminal associate confessed to police that he'd witnessed Donald ending the life of 2 young men, he was convicted of 8 homicides and was sentenced to death, which was later commuted to life imprisonment without parole. Now in prison, Donald committed another homicide by ending the life of another prisoner. He's the only man to have ever ended the life of an inmate on death row. Next up, we have Dennis Nilsen. So many people call this guy the British Jeffrey Dahmer. Kind of gives you an idea of what we're working with here. This has to be one of the creepiest criminal cases that I've ever heard in recent history. When I first heard about what this guy did, there was a lot of tossing and turning in bed that night. So Nilsen ended the lives of 15 gay men in London between 78 and 83. He'd keep the bodies around for a while, propping them up and posing them around like life-size dolls before hiding them in the floorboards and eventually flushing the remains down the toilet when they'd become a little too gnarly to keep around. Yeah, he'd flush them down the toilet. So not only was this guy completely deranged, but also incredibly stupid. Folks in the building started complaining about this awful smell, and human flesh was discovered in his sewage system. Dennis claimed he went into a trance, and on 7 occasions actually freed the men rather than ending their lives because he was able to snap out of it. But the majority of his victims weren't so lucky. At one point, Dennis was rapidly running out of storage space, with half a dozen bodies hidden around his apartment. He was forced to spray his rooms twice a day to try and get rid of the flies that were hatching from the decomposing bodies. When neighbors complained about the smell, he convinced them they stemmed from structural problems with the building. Dennis was convicted in 83 of 6 counts of homicide with 2 attempted homicides and was sentenced to life in prison. Still imprisoned at Full Sutton Maximum Security Prison in Yorkshire, England, without the chance of release. Emperor Domitian was the last Roman emperor of the Flavian dynasty, and he ruled the empire for 15 years following the death of his brother Titus in 81 AD. Domitian didn't really care about his citizens at all. He was a self-indulgent man with a thirst for violence. He spent much of his time committing adultery with prostitutes, and he was also addicted to watching gladiatorial fights between women and dwarfs. But Domitian is best known for his reign of terror. After taking power away from the Senate, he became increasingly paranoid about the upper classes of Rome, as he suspected them of plotting against him. Domitian oversaw the death sentences of philosophers, senators, imperial officers, and intellectuals. He even sentenced his own cousin to death at one point. How nice. Now, since he was so paranoid, he wanted his spies to show no mercy. Under the emperor's instructions, they would chop off hands and burn genitalia in order to extract as much information as possible from their prisoners. After 3 years of slaughter, Domitian died at the hands of a Praetorian guard, and the senators of Rome did their utmost to erase his name from history. And finally, we have Pedro Rodrigues Filho. Pedro Rodrigues Filho is a Brazilian serial slayer. He was arrested in 1973 and was later convicted in 2003 for ending the lives of at least 71 people and sentenced to 128 years in prison. Committing his first homicide at the age of 14, Pedro began a series of burglaries and carried out a death spree against local criminals. By the age of 18, he'd ended the lives of 10 people. While in prison, he took the life of his own father, who was also serving time for homicide. Pedro even went on to end the lives of at least 47 inmates while in prison. His continued spree led to further convictions, increasing his sentence to 400 years. But he was later released from prison in 2007 after serving 34 years. Then he was rearrested in 2011. Following his second release in 2018, he started a YouTube channel called Petrahino Ex Matador, commenting on modern crimes, campaigning against gang violence, and teaching the public not to be proud of criminal acts. But on March 5th of 2023, he was shot and died of his injuries.
At number 5, we have Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. This one is a toss-up. Like, I would probably go to Rio. Rio's an amazing city. It's filled with some of the most gorgeous people you've ever seen in your life. They have the amazing Carnival Festival where you can party for like days and probably fall in and out of love 10 times. Brazilian food is amazing. You can go to a Brazilian steakhouse and eat enough meat that you'll get meat sweats that soak right through your shoes. But Rio definitely has a darker side. Rio's one of the most dangerous cities on the planet. There is a ton of gang violence, with Rio being a major hotspot for drug trafficking and gun trade. You also have a good chance of getting kidnapped or murdered. So when you're picking your next vacation spot, you gotta decide how bad you want to see people dance on a float during Carnival. At number 4, we have Lake Nyos, Cameroon. Back in August of 1986, a giant cloud of carbon dioxide erupted out of the bottom of Lake Nyos. This invisible cloud of death spread fast at 50 kilometers an hour and ended up killing 1,700 people. This is the kind of thing where legends of gods and monsters come from. If this happened when an ancient civilization was living there, they wouldn't have known that this was caused by a giant carbon cloud from a nearby volcano. They would have thought it was some sort of demonic force and they needed to sacrifice things. They would have been afraid of this lake until the end of time. But thankfully we have computers to tell us what happened. A seismic shift caused gas from a volcano to come through Lake Nyos. This is normal, but the gas usually is released slowly, not in these massive amounts like this. Since this happened, scientists have developed a way to extract gas from the base of the lake, preventing it from happening again. But even though they're taking safety measures, you won't catch me anywhere near this place. At number 3, we have the Ganges River, India. The Ganges River in India is one of the most polluted rivers on the planet. If you thought the river Siatra was bad, it has nothing on the Ganges. This river is used for sewage, personal waste, and the waste of major companies. And get this, over 500 million people use this river regularly. Some people come visit it every day because they believe it has holy powers that can heal you, which is absolutely not true. The river is actually packed with harmful chemicals that cause cancer. From all the constant traffic of people visiting the river, it's only getting more polluted. There is trash that is left there every day from all the people that make the trip. And there isn't even a proper cleaning system, so the problem is only getting worse. At number 2, we have the Skeleton Coast, Namibia. This place has all the pieces of an environment that is trying to kill you. I mean, it's called the Skeleton Coast, for God's sake. They didn't call it sexy fun Margarita Beach. No, they didn't. First off, we have very harsh waters. The tides and waves are so unpredictable that you can see the shells of all the shipwrecks along the coast. Everything from major tankers to little tugboats can be seen broken down along this beach. If you're one of the people who were unlucky enough to get shipwrecked here and survived by swimming to the mainland, you would now be in one of the worst deserts on the planet. It is extremely dry with almost zero water sources and spans hundreds of kilometers. There's also this eerie fog effect that comes off the ocean and covers the desert, meaning you could be lost in a brutal landscape without being able to see 10 feet in front of you because the fog is so thick. That sounds like a pleasant way to die. At number 1, we have Caracas, Venezuela. Okay, for the number 1 spot, we have one of the most hostile cities on the planet, so strap in. The entire country of Venezuela has been at war with its own government for years now. Protesters are shot and killed in the streets on a regular basis, and all this chaos has seemed to be boiled down to Caracas. People desperately want their freedom from the oppressive government, and on top of that, there's an insane amount of organized crime. You have drug lords moving products through the city constantly, and hijackings are a regular occurrence. And it's suggested that you never wear anything expensive when you're walking through the street because people will rob it right off your body. So leave your Gucci sneakers at home unless you want to be walking around barefoot. To give you a little perspective, if you Google countries with the most murders right now, Caracas will be number 3.
Number 10. Crashed car. 20 years ago, a man named William went missing in the state of Florida after visiting a nightclub, with seemingly no trace left behind and no way to find where he went. But 2 decades later, someone was on Google Maps when they noticed something strange in a pond. The man was surveying for bus routes for his work when he saw what appeared to be a submerged car near the edge of the water. He called his ex ex-girlfriend to take a look and see if there was a car in the pond, but she couldn't see anything due to the murky water, so she contacted her neighbor. The neighbor flew his drone over the water and confirmed there was a car, contacting the authorities. They were able to remove the vehicle and did find human remains inside, later identifying them as the body of William. He had apparently lost control of his car, but due to no one living in the area at the time, it went unnoticed for 2 decades, the dirty water keeping his car hidden for years. Number 9. Stolen bicycle. In 2008, a man was riding his bicycle through Holland when he was approached by 2 men who stole his phone, money, and his bicycle. Due to the lack of any leads in the case, the police were unable to help him with recovering his stolen things, until 6 months later. He was looking through Google Street View at the exact place where the event had taken place, and he couldn't believe what he was seeing. The Street View car had passed by and taken a photo mere seconds before the crime happened. The view shows the man on his bicycle and the 2 men right behind him preparing their attack. Thanks to this, he was able to take the evidence to the police, who easily recognized the 2 men as brothers who were well known by the justice system and had committed crimes before. Number 8. The dock. You may recognize this image as it went viral on social media when it was discovered and posted to the website Reddit. It shows a dock in Holland which appears to have a blood trail that leads to somebody's body. The user posted it saying that someone had been killed by their house, and this was photographic evidence of it. People were in a panic trying to solve the mystery and figure out who the person was and how this event had come to pass. Fortunately, however, some other people took the time to look further into the image and really look at the details of what was going on. It was revealed that the 2 figures at the end of the dock were not a criminal and a body, but instead just a man and his dog. What many thought was a blood trail was actually just the result of the dog having gone for a swim in the water and then trailing the moisture down the dock as he walked, the color just being the color of the wood when it gets wet. Number 7. Stolen car. Now for another case of the Google Street View car being in the right place at the right time. A man named David had his car stolen right out of his driveway, and he probably felt like the unluckiest guy on earth because he had just bought this new car after his first one had been destroyed by a joyrider. But in actuality, he was pretty lucky. His son decided to look up their home on Google Street View, something I'm sure we all did at some point when we were younger, and when he looked at the driveway, he realized that the Google car had actually managed to catch the thief in the act of stealing the van, with a full view of his face and what he was doing. The police believed that the camera had managed to catch the man just moments before he drove off. After convincing Google to unblur the license plate so they could confirm the evidence, they were able to make an arrest on the crime 2 years after it had taken place. Number 6. Swiss farm. When you think of Switzerland, you probably imagine snowy mountains and alpine skiing resorts, and you probably don't picture people running around on beautiful green farms. But they are there, and one particular one was growing a lot of corn when they were found out for growing something else. I don't think I can say exactly what they were growing, but I think you get what I'm expressing here. Anyways, they were hiding this other farm behind rows and rows of corn to keep it hidden from view. Unfortunately, they probably hadn't considered Google Earth managing to snap a picture of it from above, revealing to the police their illegal side hustle. The discovery led to the arrest of 16 different farmers and the confiscation of over a ton of grass. The police admitted that they hadn't actually been searching for what they found and called it a chance discovery.
Now we're going to start off with Issei Sagawa. This was a notorious Japanese criminal who is known for taking lives and consuming human flesh. He's known for ending the life of René Hartvelt in Paris in 1981. In 83, he was deemed unfit for trial by French medical experts and was initially held in a psychiatric institution before being deported to Japan in 1984. But upon his arrival, he was ruled sane by Japanese authorities, who decided his only problem was a character anomaly, and that he did not require hospitalization. Yeah, eating people, just a little character quirk, you know? Now, unfortunately, Japanese authorities were unable to get his case files from their French counterparts, who considered the case closed, leaving Issei to walk free. Now, he made no secret of his crime and capitalized on it as he wrote a memoir entitled In the Fog, where he reminisced about the crime in vivid detail. Despite the heinous details of the homicide and his lack of remorse, Issei gained a level of celebrity and regularly gave interviews to domestic and international media in the years after his return. He displayed no apparent sign of remorse or reform, telling Vice in a 2013 interview as he looked at posters of Japanese women, "I think they would taste delicious." Yeah, thankfully he died of pneumonia in November of 2022 and can't hurt or profit off anyone ever again. Next up, we have Angela Simpson. In 2009, Angela Simpson lured Terry Neely to her home with the promise of fun bedtime activities and illicit substances. Once inside the home, though, things took a very dark turn. Angela tormented the man for over 3 days, during which time she pulled the man's teeth out of his mouth and drove a nail into his head. And even more disturbing, she did all of this while Terry was seated in front of a mirror, so he was forced to watch all this play out. On the final day of the ordeal, Angela strangled and stabbed the man more than 50 times before dismembering his body and setting his remains on fire. In April of 2012, Judge Paul McCurdy sentenced Angela to natural life in prison plus 14 years for the homicide. The additional 14 years were given to Angela for convictions of abandonment of a body and kidnapping. During a prison interview after her sentencing, she was asked if she had any regrets. She replied that she only regretted that she did not make the torment last longer. Her exact words were, "Not at all, why would I be?" During the interview, Angela said that Terry bragged to her about the number of people he'd put in jail by snitching, but the Phoenix Police Department had no record of Terry ever being an informant or telling on anyone. Still, Angela remained insistent that he was a snitch and that he got what he deserved. She also expressed that she was upset that she wasn't able to end the lives of any more snitches. Next up, we have Empress Wu. Empress Wu of China was on the throne from 690 to 705, and she was the only woman in China's history to have absolute rule. But she's not remembered in the best light. She was a cruel, merciless empress who enjoyed tormenting and ending the lives of others. Chinese history paints Empress Wu as a demonic woman who connived her way to power through homicide and deceit. In fact, historians at the time claimed that she, quote, killed her sister, butchered her elder brothers, murdered the ruler, and poisoned her mother. She is hated by gods and men alike. She's believed to have ended the lives of thousands of people. Her reign came to an end in a coup in 704. Members of her court forced her to yield power to her exiled son, Zhongzong. In 705, she was in poor health and died. Her memorial tablet, which she had commissioned when she was an empress, was left purposefully blank, so future historians could compose an epitaph detailing her accomplishments, but over 1,000 years later, it still remains blank, her legacy completely unwritten. David Parker Ray. So this guy was a kidnapper, a tormentor, and suspected serial slayer, though no bodies were ever found. David was accused by his accomplices of ending the lives of several women and was suspected by the police to have ended the lives of as many as 60 women from Arizona and New Mexico while living in Elephant Butte, New Mexico. David was then convicted of kidnapping and torment in 2001. After his arrest, the police quickly obtained a warrant to search his home and trailer. What the authorities found inside the trailer shocked and disturbed them. He called the place his toy box. It contained a gynecologist-type table in the middle with a mirror mounted to the ceiling so that his victims could see the horrors delivered on them. Littering the floor were whips, chains, pulleys, straps, clamps, leg spreader bars, surgical blades, and saws. They also found diagrams on the walls showing different methods of inflicting pain. He would even play like tapes telling these women what he was about to do to them once they were kidnapped. I've heard it, it's really disturbing. He died of a heart attack about 1 year after his convictions in 2 cases, the second of which resulted in a plea deal.
Number 5. Robbery. In 2011, a woman had her home broken into in Oklahoma City. The robbers had weapons and prevented her from interfering while they ransacked the home, the whole event taking place in broad daylight. She said that the whole thing lasted for over an hour and she was devastated and terrified. More so when the police told her that there was no forensic evidence or other leads that they could follow up on to identify the criminals and bring them to justice. So if it all took place inside the home, how did Google Earth manage to catch what was going on? Well, 3 years later in 2014, a friend was looking at the home on Google Street View when she saw a picture of 2 men walking down the street just outside the home. The men matched the description that the woman had given of the robbers, and with this evidence, the police were able to launch an appeal to get the case reopened and subsequently solved. Number 4. Tax dodging. During the 2000s, an Italian businessman attempted to carry out a tax evasion scheme, and he would have gotten away with it if it weren't for you meddling kids. The finance police discovered that the man had sold a villa in 2002, which was noted as having a specifically phallic-shaped pool. With this clue, they took to Google Earth to find the property and were quickly able to. It became clear when they saw the aerial view that the property was clearly worth much more, especially when compared to similar properties in the area. This then led to them checking into all of the man's dealings, including his bank account checks. These checks revealed various different omissions, which totaled to around 7 million euros of dodged taxes. I picked this one specifically because I think it's incredibly topical, with Shakira's hips recently being found out for lying about paying taxes as well. Number 3. 9 years. William wasn't the only case to be solved thanks to overhead imagery of a submerged car in a lake. In 2006, a 72-year-old man named David Niles walked out of his favorite bar in Michigan and was never seen again. A decade passed and no one had any clue where he went, his family eventually giving up any hopes of finding him. Almost 10 years later, a man was decorating his Christmas tree when he thought he saw something deep in the lake across the road. He took a look on Google Earth and it revealed the distinct shape of a car in the water, very similar to the image that revealed William's whereabouts. Cops were able to pull the car out and the remains of David were found inside, identified by his wallet. His son-in-law said, "For us today, it's a closure of a long search. Why God waited 9 years, I have no idea, but we're happy. It's good to have him home." Number 2. Blood Lake. In 2007, people who spent their time looking around on Google Earth discovered something that they felt was pretty startling. It's a lake in Iraq that is estimated to be 500 feet wide and around a half a mile long, and it's bright red. People immediately started speculating that this is from some sort of terrible crime, and it's a lake that has managed to be stained red by blood. Others suggesting that the color came about due to a butchery using it as a dumping ground. Innocent theories were that of a specific type of algae or pollution and chemicals changing the color of the water. Unfortunately, we will never actually know what caused the color, as if you look at the lake now, it's back to normal. I know this doesn't really count as a solved mystery, but maybe you know why it was red and you can let me know in the comments and you can be the one who solved it. Number 1. Secret swimming pools. While the majority of things on my list today have been individual crimes reports, let me tell you about something that was discovered that was much more widespread. You may not know this, but in Athens, Greece, you need a special permit to be allowed to build a swimming pool on your land. And who the heck wants to pay for that? Reports show that there were only 324 pools in Athens, which investigators thought was just way too low a number. So financial crime investigators took to Google Earth to try and figure out the truth about what was going on. Within a few months, they had used the application to discover over 16,000 hidden and undeclared swimming pools on people's properties. The Greek government was cracking down on fraud at the time, and by tracking down the homeowners and collecting that pool tax, they were able to make a lot of cash. So if you're planning on hiding a swimming pool in Greece anytime soon, maybe consider a camouflage cover.
We're now at our 5th and halfway mark with Moroa Island. Located in French Polynesia, this island was first used for nuclear testing in 1966 by France. These tests apparently took place until 1996. That's when the French president shut down the facility. Why? Well, Greenpeace found out that these tests were polluting the water as far as Peru and New Zealand. In fact, many locals in Tahiti have claimed they have been affected by the radiation from the tests. Nowadays, the island is off limit to visitors and is guarded by French forces, which is probably why half of the island is blurred on Google Maps. Or maybe it's because they're still doing these nuclear tests. We may never know. Moving on at number 4, we have Elmira Correctional Facility. Elmira Correctional Facility, also known as The Hills, is a maximum security state prison in New York. This is another facility blurred on Google Earth. Why? Well, a number of reasons. 1, they have fears of an aerial attack. Number 2, they have fears that someone will use this information to plan an escape. And number 3, the prison is highly secure. Why would they want images of the building online for everyone to see? But it turns out that this location got blurred after a number of riots and mass escapes. Moving on at number 3, we have North Korea. Okay, is it even shocking that North Korea has sections of its country blurred? I mean, they are so secretive, so this isn't a surprise at all. Now, the area that is blurred is along the country's western shore. So people have thought that they are hiding something there, maybe a secret military project. Who knows? I mean, hey, the country is hiding so many things. Like I said, this one doesn't really come as a surprise. In our second spot, we have Paseo de los Naranjos. Located in Spain, this place translates to orange tree yard, and it is completely censored on Google Maps. No matter how close you try to zoom in on the map or the area close by, you won't be able to see anything. Why? Well, there's a lot of government buildings located there, so it's blurred out for security and privacy reasons, which makes sense. Many government or military buildings are blurred out on Google Maps for similar reasons. And in our number 1 spot today, we have Jeanette Island. Located in Russia, this island is said to contain a secret Russian military base. If you type this island into Google, you'll find a whole lot of nothing. Legit, it just looks like a bunch of water. It's not even registered on Google Maps as an island. When you type in its coordinates, you will see a message that says this island is unavailable. Now, before it was removed from the maps altogether, it wasn't even blurred out. It was actually blacked out. Like there was a full-on black mass just covering it. But when you zoomed in, you could see this icy mass, and that's all. According to Reddit user Exoplanetary Science, he said, and I quote, "Google rarely blacks out without reason. A search through Google Earth shows that this has been permanently blurred out, even in images dating back to the 1980s. I'm going to guess there's a concealed Russian military base located there, and possibly quite a substantial one." So, there you have it, folks, a secret Russian military base.